I did a video about reading data from a PDF document, and I demonstrated I will read the data from the document and change the resulting data frame in order to give you something that is more usable. So for this video, I'm going to show or demonstrate how you might wrap all of that, or wrap that entire process into one function, because you might ask, am I supposed to go through all of these steps every time I want to use the data? And the answer is no. You can use, the first time you perform something like this, you'll have to explore and have a look at, go through all the steps in, I suppose, a tedious manner. But once you understand what needs to be done to the data, then you can put all those steps into a function. Obviously, supposing that the data table that you're using every time is the same format. So let's say, for example, what I used was, so this was my data, and in a month's time, when I've collected more of this data, this data table will be in exactly the same format with exactly the same columns and column headings. So I can use the same steps that I've used previously for that. I can use it on the same data table in a month's time. So what I'm going to do is, I've sort of created this function. Let me just copy this over, and let me just install Camelot, and if you watch the previous video, you'll see that Camelot was the library that was used in order to read the PDF. So these are all the steps that we used in the previous video in order to work with the data frame, read the PDF and into the data frame, and then split the columns and do all those things. And what I've done is I've put this into a function. So you've defined the function. The function's called function's called data usage, and the only parameter is the file. So when I use this function, I'll input the file name, which in my case would be data usage.pdf is the file name. So when I use this function, I'll say data usage and then put the file name into the brackets, and then what I will return here is data, which in this case is a data frame. So if we do that, you'll see that if I call this function called data usage, and in the parameter I've got the name of the file, which is data usage.pdf, you'll see that in one or two steps you've got this data frame that is exactly as you wanted to see it. Initially, over here we had don't know if, yeah, we had this, we were presented with this initially before we used the function. So we had these 5 columns, and we had to do lots of manipulation in order to get it down to this type of data frame. But with a function, it's 1 or 2 steps, and then you've got this data frame immediately. So in order to work with the data variable, we just set the data variable equal to that function, and that function will return this data variable into this data variable that you've now created. And as you can see, we select, we say data.head. So now I've got this data, the data frame that we can now use to create graphs or various other calculations. So that's a very useful thing. Once you understand the steps that are involved in manipulating your table, and provided that the table structure won't change over time, you can create a function so that all those steps needed in order to uh, work with your table doesn't need to be repeated, and you can just implement this function in order to get the result that you need.